Shoot your arrows! Cooper Kupp plucks it out of the air and gives the Rams the lead. Robert Wood, touchdown! LA! Goff goes crashing into the end zone. Aaron Donald almost beat the football there. Corey Littleton, have yourself a day. Picked off. Marcus Peters coming off the edge, and Ryan will be wrapped up by Clay Matthews. Everett in stride! Wow!
Franklin Myers gets his hand down there.
Weddle got a hand on it. Did he pick it? He did!
Racing down the sideline is Aqib Talib. Gurley for MVP! Touchdown LA!
Picked off by John Johnson.
Well, it's Dante Fowler who is able to get to breathe. Greg Zuerlein sends the Rams to the Super Bowl! LA will play for the Lombardi!
Welcome back, guys, to another Downtown Rams podcast. It's episode 279. I'm your host, Jake Ellenbogen. Joining me, as always, is Alexis Kraft. And this is, once again, a draft season podcast. We have two interviews. We have Tulane long snapper Geron Eatherly coming on, as well as Vanderbilt quarterback Riley Neal. So we hope you guys enjoy, and we'll be having plenty of these come out soon. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe and leave a review, as always, wherever you get your podcasts. And enjoy the show. All right, joining the podcast, we have Tulane long snapper Geron Eatherly. How's it going, man? Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's going well. You know, just wrapped up dinner, got a chance to be on a talk show, so. Hey.
Yeah, well, we're really excited to talk to you. And just to start this off, we just want to hear a little bit about how you got into the game of football.
So I've been playing football since I was in second grade. You know, it started with flag football and all that, and I immediately fell in love with the game. But as I got older, I kind of realized that I wasn't going to be able to play at the highest level as a linebacker or something like that. So in seventh grade, I started long snapping and just kind of all went from there. Had a great chance to work with my coach, Chris Rubio from Rubio Long Snapping. Really kind of helped me out a good bit in getting a scholarship to Tulane, and now trying to play professionally.
Yeah, of course. And you know, growing up, you mentioned your linebacker interest and background. Who was your favorite player? Did you try to model your game after him? Who was it?
So as a child, my favorite player was actually Brian Urlacher from the Chicago Bears. So that's, that was always who I watched. I was a Bears fan. I didn't really have a reason to be, but I think it was just because I liked Brian Urlacher, and that was the first football game I ever saw was a Chicago Bears game. So I became a Bears fan, and just because Brian Urlacher was there. So.
Yeah, no, he was a great player and really fun to watch. I enjoyed watching him as well. And, my family is all Bears fans, so I watched quite a bit of him growing up as well. And, you kind of touched on this earlier, but you ended up playing college at Tulane. What was the main factor for you in choosing there?
So coming out of high school, I had one other full scholarship offer, which was to an FCS school, Portland State. I was originally I was committed to Oklahoma State as a preferred walk-on, but with mostly full academic scholarship. And then Tulane came calling, and, it was really a tough decision because it's playing in the Power Five between playing for what I would say is obviously the best Group of Five conference. But for me, it was the academics completely. Tulane gave me an opportunity to go to a top 45 institution and get one of the best degrees in the country.
That's definitely a great way of putting that. What would you say is your favorite memory or play or even game from college?
So my favorite memory, I would say as a player, being on the field for it was my freshman year. We were playing Louisiana Lafayette, and it was in triple overtime, and we had a 48-yard field goal to send it into quadruple overtime. And, snap was good, hold was good, kick was good. So that was a really cool experience for me just because, you're on the field for so long. you're playing the game for, at that point, what feels like forever. And then to just kind of do something that's so important for the team at that point in time was really a cool experience. As a teammate, though, it would either come, last year to go to a bowl game against Navy, we converted a 2-point conversion with about a minute left to go ahead by 1 point to go to our first bowl game since I think it was 2013. And this year we beat Houston, but so we had a fake knee that got us 25 yards or so. And then the very next play, we had a 48-yard touchdown pass to Jalen McCluskey. So that was a really fun thing to be a part of also.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, you played against a lot of really, really tough competition in college. Is there any one guy or maybe two guys that stand out to you as being the toughest players that you went up against?
So for me, as a long snapper, I mean, I don't necessarily really play. I try to keep my job the exact same week to week. So I'll look at players and kind of see tendencies and stuff like that, but I haven't really ever been overly focused on one. But a few that stand out to me is Ed Oliver from Houston. I don't remember his name, but Auburn's defensive tackle number 5 was somebody that we had to prepare for a lot on field goal. And then the punt returner for Southern Miss who ended up not playing that game.
Yeah, and I know exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about a top 5 pick in Derek Brown. So
yeah, exactly. So we were prepping field goal all week, and it was really, I'd get with the left guard essentially without the rest of the field goal unit, and we would just go through to make sure everything was locked in form-wise, because on special teams, it really comes down to doing your job and doing it right, not so much who's the most athletic person, but if you do everything right, nothing's going to get blocked.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. If you do everything right, nothing's going to get blocked. Special teams is really the heartbeat, the glue of that whole team, really. Underrated factor of an NFL game and a college game and any game. But with that being said, what would you say is your biggest strength, as a player?
I'd say it's my consistency as well as my mentality going into games. I mean, like I said, I try to keep everything the exact same. So regardless of what type of stage I'm playing on or in front of how many people, I mean, I snap the same ball at home alone, snapping at a target as I do in front of 100,000 people at Ohio State. So I think that my biggest strength is not wavering when things get tough and when there's a lot of pressure on you.
Yeah, definitely. And, as the draft approaches, is there anything that you're looking to improve on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to get my body in the best possible shape that it can be in, so that when I get to a camp or something like that, and I'm completely ready to go, my strength is there, my speed is there, and I'm able to keep up with those guys on the field and block them.
And, entering the NFL, who do you most want to go up against?
So I would say that one player I'd like to go up against is it's another long snapper, but I kind of watched his film a lot, and it's John Durenbos. No, not John. Rick Lovato. I got the Eagles snappers confused. Sorry. It's Rick Lovato from the Eagles. He was a Pro Bowler this year, and it was the first year they voted on Pro Bowl long snappers. They had all the other long snappers vote on it. And for him to get that achievement, it's kind of crazy to see how far we've come as a position in the past few years. And I know he's trained with the same coaches that I have, so it would be a cool experience for me to, get to play a game against him.
Yeah, totally. And, we are a Rams podcast, so we just like to ask different prospects that come on this show, if they got a chance to maybe catch one or two Rams games last season. And if so, what were your thoughts? Or are there any players on the Rams who you really admire?
Yeah, obviously one of my a dude who was a big mentor for my whole team, Tanzel Smart, is out there right now. So that's the big thing. So I love that dude. He's one of the hardest workers I've ever met. I didn't get a chance to watch many pro games over, I count 3 throughout the season, just because we lifted on Sundays after the games and everything. So it was pretty rough, but I know that the Rams have a pretty awesome offense from what I have seen.
Yeah, and kind of just, doubling off that, mentioning the Rams, being a Rams podcast, I also like to ask prospects that come on if they've met or spoken with the Rams. I know it's early in the process, but I'm just curious if you have or, spoken with a scout from the Rams or anything like that.
Right. I have not currently, but, I will play anywhere who wants to give me a chance. I just want to play football somewhere.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And, just to close this out, in your own words, who is Geron Eatherly as a player and who is he as a person?
As a player, I'd like to think I'm somebody who my team can always count on, my coaches, who you don't really have to worry about. He's going to go out there and get the job done and, just do it to the best of my abilities. I think that I'm somebody who gets my work done at practice, and you never have to worry about me practicing hard or playing hard because that's always going to be there. At that point, it just comes down to snapping. And like I said, I think that I snap the same ball by myself as I do in front of 100,000 people. So, I just think that I'm somebody who takes care of business and just tries to be the best that I can at my job.
Hey man, that's an awesome answer, and we're really looking forward to seeing you at the next level, and it's been a lot of fun getting to talk with you. Really looking forward to watching you throughout this process, and hoping you land in the right situation. Obviously, it'd be cool to have a friend of the podcast on wearing horns, but like you said, you'll play anywhere. So. Gary, we really appreciate you coming on. It means a lot. Obviously, you're a busy man.
Thanks for having me. I mean, it's been awesome.
Of course, absolutely. Definitely rooting for you the rest of the way.
Awesome. Thank y'all so much.
Yeah, of course. You have a good one.
You too. Bye.
All right, joining us on the podcast, we have Vanderbilt quarterback Riley Neal. How's it going, man? Thanks so much for coming on.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And just to start this off, we just want to hear a little bit about how you got into the game of football.
I've just always kind of played it. My dad played in college at Ball State, and so it was just something I've always done.
Yeah, and growing up, did you have a favorite player that you kind of looked up to, maybe modeled your game after?
Being from Indiana, I was always a Colts fan, so Peyton Manning was definitely my favorite player growing up.
Yeah, and when it came time for you to play in college, you ended up going to Vanderbilt. What was the main factor for you in choosing them?
I played my first 4 years at Ball State, and then when I grad transferred, it just felt like a good fit. They were in the market for a quarterback, and when I visited, it was just a good fit, so I decided to go there.
Yeah, of course, and did you have a favorite memory, play, or even game?
It's hard to pinpoint one, but it was just a good experience overall. Moving down to Nashville and living there, it was a pretty cool experience overall.
Yeah, and you played against a lot of really, really great competitors and great football players in college. But is there any one guy or maybe two guys that stand out to you as being the toughest opponents that you had to go up against?
We played Georgia and LSU were definitely probably two of the best defenses I played against. And they were loaded across the board. LSU had some really good DBs that were tough matchups. So those two, I'd say, were definitely the toughest.
Yeah, and just kind of looking at yourself as a player, obviously you play the quarterback position, which is, heavily under a microscope. What would you say is your biggest strength as a player?
I've been surrounded by good players my entire time, my 4 years at Ball State, and then this last year at Vanderbilt. So I think just being able to play with guys like that and just getting playmakers the ball is kind of what I see myself as.
Yeah, and as the draft approaches, is there anything that you're looking to improve on or work on?
Yeah, definitely. Just getting feedback from scouts and whoever it may be and deficiencies in my game, and just getting bigger, faster, stronger. Just trying to prepare myself the best I can leading up to this process.
Yeah, and kind of a fun question here that we like to ask quarterbacks that come on. If there's any receiver in the NFL that you could throw a touchdown pass to, who would it be?
Being a Colts fan, I guess I'd say T.Y. Hilton. Just there's been a lot of guys that grew up watching Marvin Harris, Reggie Wayne, Dallas Clark. So that's just a team I've always followed closely. So all those guys are people I've enjoyed watching over the years.
No, yeah, totally. Definitely a great receiver there in T.Y. Hilton. We like to just ask different guys who come on the show because we are a Rams kind of based podcast during the season. So just what your thoughts were on the Rams last season. If you were able to watch any games.
Yeah, definitely. They're a fun offense to watch. Sean McVay obviously is one of the best offensive minds in football, and we've watched some of their film and try to implement different things that they do. Because, that's kind of like a copycat thing where you're always taking stuff from different offenses and stuff you see that works. So they're definitely one that's fun to watch.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We actually had a teammate of yours on by the name of Kalijah Lipscomb, so we're really interested in, the offense and the different concepts that you guys, had this year. Obviously being, a grad transfer quarterback, I'm sure – it's a little different, because you're at Ball State, you're pretty much your whole college career, and then you come here, and obviously you came, here willingly, but you have to learn, a whole different offense, and you play with all different, types of talent. What is that transition like as a grad transfer quarterback? Because that's not, it happens every year. There's always one, but it's not a common course in college. So, kind of take us through, that whole process of being a transfer quarterback and, coming in and starting the next year.
Yeah, it's definitely different than coming in as a freshman, 18 years old, and kind of developing with everybody you came in with. But it was good. I got in there for spring ball, so I got, those 15 practices or whatever it was to get acclimated. Then that was kind of a good head start going into fall camp. And, they had plenty of playmakers. So when you're throwing to guys like that, it's not hard to get on the same page.
Yeah, totally. And, just kind of in closing, just in your own words, who would you say Riley Neal is as a player, and who would you say he is as a person?
I think that I'd like to be thought of as a good teammate more than anything. And that's like ideally, I think.
Yeah, well, we really like to hear that, and we appreciate you coming on. I actually did want to ask you a question, kind of bouncing off that Rams one. Completely forgot to ask. I know it's early in the process, but being a Rams podcast, we do have to ask: have you met or spoken with the Los Angeles Rams yet?
No, not to date. I haven't.
All right. Well, glad we're able to ask that, and obviously you'll be speaking to a whole bunch of teams and everything. So, we wish you the best of luck throughout this draft process. Stay healthy, and let's keep in touch, Riley.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for coming on. You have a good one.
You guys too.